Welcome. And today we're going to be talking about how to know when it's time to shift direction, to change course. And before we get into the steps that I encourage you to follow when you're making up your mind about something important, is to look at the patterns of your life. And I have a whole training on our power archetypes. And one of the 4 power archetypes that I write about, I reference as a butterfly. And the butterfly archetype is the one that I worry about most when it comes to the changing of direction. So a butterfly archetype is someone who, gets very excited and is very colorful and is very almost even sometimes dramatic in terms of, I'm going to do this thing. And then they land like a butterfly. And butterflies, they do everything in a very short period of time. And then they fly off and then they die. Most of them die very quickly in 2 weeks or less. Some only 1 day, actually. And so the butterfly archetype really is charismatic, and we love this person. But the thing that they don't do is they don't stay long enough in one thing to see it through, to actually recognize the benefits of that thing that they were initially interested in. And so they land like a butterfly, and then they fly off somewhere else, and they land again, and then they fly off and they land again. And so if this is your pattern to not actually commit to something, then you have to look at that, because that may be the very thing that you need to experience first before you make a shift. Now, that's not true all the time. So let's take a look at some of the other things you can do. If that's not your power archetype and you say, no, that doesn't really sound like me, here's some more things that can be helpful. So the first thing is, when you're thinking of shifting directions, I want you to be really consciously still in your body and go to the area of your body. Just visually, you close your eyes, you go to the area of your body that represents changing direction. And so for me, just as I say that to you, I can feel it in a particular part of my body. For me, it's my lower hip. Could be any part of your body or even outside of your body, but close by. So just identify it and then see, what is it that wants to come forward to show you? It could be an image, something, a symbol. And if you don't understand it, you can ask, what is this image about? It could be that you hear some guidance around this new direction that you're thinking of taking, or perhaps you're thinking of leaving a job and abandoning a direction. And so just see, hear, you can feel into it. You can access your gut knowing around it and see what kind of information comes up, and then jot it down. Make sure you jot it down and do this daily for a period of 10 days. And during that 10 days, you're also going to be hyper vigilant and aware of the synchronicities that want to come through in regard to this new direction. So as an example, once I was thinking of working with a particular person, and that person's last name happened to drive by on a trucking sign, and I thought, wow, isn't that interesting? That is a sign, right? Or if you overhear in a grocery store a conversation and maybe there is just one thing said, and that, boom, that relates to what you have been then intuitively thinking about. So there's all sorts of things. Music. You can walk into a place and hear a piece of music, or in your car, all of a sudden music comes on, and that it's the exact answer that you were looking for in terms of switching direction. So these are all things that happen for us, not to us. They happen for us. So there's never a moment ever that goes by where you're not being guided. And you must believe this to be true. Otherwise, you're going to feel constantly like you're in the wind and there's nobody supporting you and there's nothing out there that could possibly help you and guide you, when in fact, the answers are right in front of you all along. Here's the other thing. What if the answer for you is to become comfortable with uncertainty? So what I mean by that is, what if you've never had the experience of being uncertain for a longer period of time? Maybe that is what your soul wants you to grow into, is the discomfort and then just the acceptance that uncertainty is okay. I mean, let's face it, we go to parties and people, what's the first thing they say? Well, what do you do? And if you answer, well, I'm actually not sure anymore, quite often people run for the hills, or they try, say, oh, I got to go to the bathroom, and they skirt around you because they're not comfortable with the idea of someone not knowing what they want to do in the world. And so there is that almost a bit of shaming that I find in society around someone having, that uncertainty of where they're going and what they're doing. So please accept your uncertainty. Be comfortable with it. Learn to just sit in it for a while. You don't need to go from one job and then immediately know exactly what your life's path is. That happens for some people, but for most people, part of their journey is this learning to be okay with not knowing. Now, the being okay with not knowing probably shouldn't last for 5 years. Just saying. But it is a period of time, So the faster you can accept it, the faster that you fall in love with this whole bit of time frame, the more that you will find, okay, so now I'm being invited by the universe to look at this. Oh, isn't this interesting? Or you might meet someone who sparks an idea in you, or might even become your business partner eventually. You don't know these things when you first set out. So be open. Don't have a really narrow look at, oh, this is the way my life should look, and therefore I'm only going to look at opportunities in this very narrow slice of life. I actually think that for most of us, the big breakthroughs come when we're not thinking we have the answers. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and please subscribe if you'd like more of the same, and hit the bell button for notifications for upcoming videos. And these things and much more are in my book, The Tao of Influence, Ancient Wisdom for Modern Leaders and Entrepreneurs. And you can find that right now with a bunch of awesome free gifts to go with it at KarenMcGregor.com.